All right. Party people in the place to be, vandals, and whatever else may be lurking out in the darkness. I am Dirk Crestmitten from the 11 o'clock news, and joining me this wonderful Friday night, we have the one, the only
Joe Pocket.
Joe Paquette from the lovely Great White North. We're zipping right along, man. This is our fourth episode of that we've done this week for our two shows, and that's killer, man. I think that we are really onto something, and I'm just having a blast doing this show with you fellas. I mean, a few slight hiccups in the road on the way to here, but man, I think we're building something good, and I appreciate you being here. We got a pretty full night of cool shit to talk about. Joey, what do we got on the table for people before we get into our check-in?
Tonight we'll be talking about the first book of Killtopia. We'll also be talking about Death Orb. We'll be talking about We Live, and we'll also be touching on the second issue of Jenny Zero.
Right. The book that everybody should be reading, and I think a lot of people are, but they ain't talking about it. And you talk about this book, people. It is so good, but we'll get into that in a minute. Joey, you read anything or watch anything cool this week, brother?
This week, yes, I got a book called Nightmare Man in the mail from the one of the creators. He's a Canadian dude that draws it from, I believe he's from London, Ontario, Matt Rowe. And the writer is Matthew Wilden. And this was a Kickstarter. It's a one-shot. Basically, the story is of a man in therapy who talks about these reoccurring nightmares, and it's always the same person in the nightmares. And then he actually meets him in adulthood and actually in a coffee shop and then confronts him. It's a pretty interesting story. It's kind of got that same vibe as, let's say, like anthology horror books, kind of like Ice Cream Man or the like. You know, it's kind of funny. It was a good story. And then there's a small backup story by the same two creators called Little Things. And that story was really good. I enjoyed that almost more than the Nightmare Man. Little Things is a little like urban tale, like small town urban tale of just a creepy asylum that shuts down. And you have these weird characters walking around. It's about this kids growing up and how their interactions with these weird people. And anyway, in the end, there's this one character that you follow through who's narrating, and in the end, he has an interaction with one of these characters. It's kind of a weird, creepy, supernatural kind of vibe to it, which was pretty good. I mean, if anyone
Yeah,
can get their hands on it, I would definitely recommend they pick it up and read it, man. It was pretty damn cool.
I have to see if I can get in contact with the creators. I bet you they have some overstock. I'll see if I can order one because both those stories sound
I
wonderful.
I
Actually,
ordered that off Gumroad. Is that what it is? A lot of
Gumroad.
creators go on.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I went on his, and it comes with a sketch of the character and stuff. For yeah, and I know he sent. I know on Gumroad, a lot of the creators just they mail it straight from out of their offices at home. So I was like, dude, man, if you want, you can sign it for me. It'd be super appreciated. And he signed it and shipped it off, and so I got a signed book with a sketch, and it's pretty cool, man. I'm pretty happy. Uh,
Killer.
the the other book I read was a Kickstarter I backed from a creator that lives not too far from me here in Quebec, called Emmanuel Fliteau. It's called Tales from the Interface. I got the French. It's like digest size books. I backed the third volume, uh, which uh, which came in, and you had the option of buying the other volumes. So I bought the two other ones, and I read volume one and volume two. And this book is wild. It's another anthology style book, but not a horror. It's more a sci-fi themed, and it's weird. It's trippy. It's psychedelic. The story is of like a future. I don't know how far into the future. They don't get into it, but it's a future where everyone uh, likes virtual. They live kind of for virtual reality. You can go into this world and you escape and live these different stories because everyone wants to be entertained and life is boring, so they go for this. And it's all these different stories of the experiences people have in this virtual reality. And some of the stories are freaking wild and weird, and some are creepy, some are crazy. It's definitely a fun read. Really fun read. The guy's art is...
It's like Ready Player One if it didn't suck, is what you're saying.
Maybe, but it's less... it's not video games. It's really like experiences. Like you could be... but yeah, it's more of an experience. It's not
like
as much...
the movie Strange Days, but you're more connected to it. It's not like just rewatching somebody's shit. Like you actually live it instead.
You're living it. Yeah, exactly. You're living it. It's not really a video game. It's more like life experiences, and you can be like creatures. You're not necessarily yourself. Like you could be anything in this. And some of the stories in here are like weird and offbeat stuff I love, and this is definitely fits the bill. And the art is it's definitely got that indie art style. It's a colorful book. It's really good, and I would recommend it to anyone. And I'm sure this guy's going to have more Kickstarters because I think he's starting to have a pretty big following now. So, and I'm not sure if I could post the links to the webpage online later if people want to go check out. He's got a site, and I'm not sure if you could buy these books straight off his site. I'd have to look into it, but I wouldn't be surprised if you could order this stuff straight off his site. And,
sweet, because they sound magnificent. You know, I love me some trippy sci-fi.
Yeah, that's volume 1. This one was volume 2. And in these books, there's a lot of reoccurring characters, and this was the Kickstarter I backed for volume 3.
Nice.
And all these books that I read were all through connections through people, mutuals on Kickstarter. And it's so great because these are creators that live like right in my backyard. And I found out like Tales of the Interface was something I found out about through Blake. Nightmare Man was something I found out through Nat, Jen and something. She had bought it and she posted it up, and I was asking her about it, and I found out that the artist was Canadian, so I went and picked it up. And our own Matt, Mr. Fulci, got me onto the Turbo Kid comics, which is a Montreal illustrator, and the movie is done by a Montrealer. And he helped me track down 2 copies of that comic, which is awesome. Like it takes people that live like in another country, miles away, to help me find out about books that are created by people that live right in my backyard.
Yeah, Nat's in Florida, so like she is like the opposite of Canada, but like that's
which
cool
is awesome.
She was able to point something out to you. Yeah, she rocks, man. I really
like,
enjoy
if you use
watching
Twitter,
her on streams.
Yeah, like using Twitter as a community and sharing stuff with people and being open-minded and like, you know, getting people onto new things and, you know, not being a snob about it, you know, like someone doesn't know much, like welcome them and like, you know, like just
like what you like,
and
don't
tell
be
people.
a dick. Like what you like, don't be a dick. That's words
so
of
those
wisdom.
were my reads, and let me tell you, I really, the first story of Tales of the Interface, like they just get right into it. Like you're in a fantasy world, and man, you don't know what the fuck's going on. Then you he comes out, right? So then you kind of get a feel for the story, which is pretty cool, And it took me that first story till I got to this one reoccurring character comes out, and then you kind of get into the story because it's a little disorienting, which is kind of cool, and I think it's done on purpose because the whole world of living in this virtual, it can be disorienting in and out, and so it was a nice touch. And I would recommend anyone pick that book up. It was pretty cool, and I got to support a fellow Quebecer making a comic, man, and that makes me really happy to support local people that live nearby me and help them try to make a living out of making comics. And the shows, you asked about shows. I watched one show this week. We finished it. My wife loves Lucifer, so we finished up the season. Is it season 5 now? The second part of season 5 of Lucifer. So we got through that this week as well. And let me tell you, it was a tearjerker. A few of those episodes, man. What's his name? The character you were asking me if he was dead. The
Deputy
douche,
douche.
Deputy Douche. Well, spoilers, people. He's fucking dead now.
Yes. No, now I'm totally watching the season. Probably was anyways, but like now I'm really hyped for it. And speaking of the awesomeness of Twitter and the types of people you can meet, we got Manny Shape, the creator writer of El Croto, in the chat right now. He's saying what's up. He says Canada represents comics hard, and yeah, dude, like I absolutely love this guy. We met each other, I believe through Twitter or maybe it was YouTube, one of the two, but like it's been a really neat experience me being friends with him because I actually got to see the inside of how one of these things get made. He kind of kept me in the loop with how issue 4 was made, and he kind of showed me how the campaign worked for him, and like I was in on the process a little bit with him. He just showed me things. I didn't like interact or anything, but it was really educational, and it was really neat of him to do that because I was interested, and I've supported him since issue 1. So yeah, he rocks. And yeah, that's the kind of neat stuff you can find on Twitter with some of these creators, man. And I've met quite a few. Christos Bagara is really nice. He's really outgoing. David Pipose, I mean, he's a sweetheart. He'll go out of his way. I met him I did a really nice review of Lock and Key. And next thing I know, he's hitting me up in my DMs, giving me going to the chapel. And I was just like, I think that was like one of the first times like a creator actually contacted me. It was like, here's the book. It wasn't like some dude at the label being like, yeah, you can have it, but don't let anybody read it. No, David was like, here, dude, man, you are so awesome. Thank you for saying that. Like, and like, yeah, Twitter can rock, but like also, yeah, there's like a real toxic side sometimes to it too. It seems like another side of it always wants to try to tear something down and destroy somebody just because it's this week and somebody hasn't done anything actually bad, but we do still need to tear somebody else down. And I don't like that part of it, but I
Or
do agree with
just,
what you're saying.
yeah, just a general attitude towards like maybe new fans or
A lot of
like
gatekeeping,
this
and
yeah.
I'm even guilty of that a little bit. I'll get a little touchy when some people that just learned about some of the books that I'm reading try to tell me what's up with comics. I'll but I mean, I don't know. I feel it's owed because of my tenure, but whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I think everybody's a little guilty of that at times,
Yeah.
but I think that we have a really strong community. And I mean, there's a lot of really great guys that we run with. There's the In Podcast guys, there's the Outside the Panel guys, there's the House of Nerds, we got the Burrito Boys, we got Chaos and Comics,
And I mean,
Poser. I mean, these people are just wonderful, beautiful human beings that, like us, just want to share the love of these
yeah,
books and get people talking about
yeah,
these books, because there are so many people that already know those books. Look at these ones though. These ones
yeah,
are good too.
yeah, because I mean, the comics industry can use as many fans as possible, especially the indie comic industry, man. And we got to welcome any newcomers and drop some knowledge on them and lead them maybe towards away from the big two and to some of these smaller books that are just incredible. And there's a lot out there. There's like, I'm amazed about how much quality indie books are out there. It's almost overwhelming. So for someone new coming in, not like they don't know what's what. So you chat with them a little bit, find out their taste, and you could recommend a few things to them, and then get them hooked. Then they'll be buying comics for the rest of their lives. That's the way I
Hopefully,
see it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hook them in there, man. That's what I try to do, because somebody will be like, well, I want to get into comics, what would you recommend? And like, I'll always just be like, well, I could give you a generic list that you'll probably get from everybody, but if you tell me what you like, I could probably like actually like narrow it down to something that'll get you hyped for it. Otherwise, yeah, it's just going to be like Deadly Class, Saga, the shit that everybody will tell you. But read some Jeff Lemire, you'll be okay with some Jeff Lemire. But as much as I love him,
And there's
people need to get past him, you know what I mean? Because he's
yeah, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. There's
yeah, no, he's
great books
definitely
all over the spectrum, and I mean, people need to explore that.
I mean, he's definitely like just a library of awesomeness in his own right, you know what I mean? So I'm not trying to take anything away from him, but there is a lot of glory going on beyond him, especially even in his film, even in his friend group. You know, you got like Matt Kent and some of these other guys that he rolls with
Mm-hmm.
that are slightly lesser known. You know, Ray Fox and yeah, these guys are just magnificent creators that look at them sometimes. But yeah, my check-in for this week, I of course
Yeah.
finally got my Kickstarter for Wacomo in by one Mr. Louis NCT, and oh my god, this book is just glorious. It is beautiful to look at, and it's just such a cute, wonderful story. In a way, it kind of reminds me of a dark fantasy version of a book we'll be covering a little later on. We Live. Were some similarities between the two when I got around to reading We Live after this. And I just really, really like it. And even if you didn't back the Kickstarter, like Joey said, you could go on their website or on Amazon and get this book. And I really highly recommend it.
Yeah,
Also, I
Magnetic
was
Press, man. They put out some quality books.
Also, I was lucky enough, a book that I've been really hyped for, a book that we will be covering more in depth in the future on this book, is Bunny Mask by Paul Tobin from Aftershock. I got the first issue of that. I really, really liked it. I'm not going to go into too much because we will be covering it, but I will say that the first issue reminded me of a really fun mix of Rachel Rising meets Nailbiter.
Ooh. Rachel
So just
Rising, man.
Rachel
That,
Rising and Nailbiter, just picture those two together, and
yeah,
that's
but that's good. My wife will like that because Rachel Rising and Sweet Tooth were the two comics that she read that got her into comics. So I can't wait to stop at the shop. I still haven't stopped at the shop, so I don't have it. I had pre-ordered it, so I'm sure Pat will love that. Then if it's got some Rachel Rising vibes, she's definitely gonna dig that one.
Yeah, because there's just like this really neat, like deep, surreal, emotional side to it that I don't know. It really just stuck me on that Terry Moore like shtick. You know what I mean? At least in this first issue.
Oh, look who's in the
Oh,
house!
look who's here. Oh, I gotta work, but I can be in the chat. Like, Matt, you know what, dude? You're gonna have to one day, like, look at your boss and tell him, like, dog, I get that this work is important, but I have responsibilities. All right. I have a podcast. All right. And this job, it might be like what keeps food on my table and like my kids with shoes on their feet. But you know what, man? I'm a peacock and I gotta fly. And yeah, dude, we miss you. I want you to be in here being like, and that book fucking sucked because I'm Fulci and I said so. I like you got to be here, man. Goose ain't here, but whatever, man. I'm happy to see you in the chat. And yeah, you're gonna love Bunny Mask. And I also got to check out another book I've been really, really hyped for, and that is Carmen by man, what is his name? He's got like a one of a kind.
Yeah,
Gilliam's
Gilia
Gilli
March.
Yeah, dude. And I don't even know what to think of that just yet. It's beautiful though. Like the comic is just stunning to look at. And I only read the first issue and I'm hooked. It's like Maria Lovett meets Dan Schaefer, which is all good in my book because like that's just two insane people I utterly adore. So go
But I
ahead and
guess people have been criticizing the nudity in it, which I find kind of weird because it isn't gratuitous, it isn't sexual. Uh, I mean, it's about people dying, and when they die, they end up in the afterlife or this in between, in the clothes or state they were in when they died. And she just happened to not be dressed when she died, so she's like nude the whole time, but there's no sexuality to it and stuff. And I guess people were having a hard time getting past that with this book.
well, she's really covered up too. I mean, like, yeah, like you'll notice that she's bare, but like it's not like let's use Tumblr terms. It's not like it's woman presenting nipples in every panel. Like,
Oh.
you know what I mean? Like she's tastefully covered up through most of it,
Hmm.
and I think that it's
And
somewhat.
his rendering, she's a very real representation of what most women look like. It's not this caricaturized version of like the perfect body, or and she's beautiful, don't get me wrong, but it's definitely a very grounded real representation, which is I think grounds it, and it's a beautiful book. I mean, it's well drawn. I mean, I would recommend anyone pick this up. Like, don't be put off by the nudity, because it's not gratuitous. It's like we said, it's really done tastefully, and it makes sense in the story too. So
Yeah, it's not done in a way to be crude or just be
no,
like, "Ah, there's naked people in this book."
yeah,
It's more of an artistic choice. Like it
hmm
reminds me of something you'd see like in a foreign film. It really does remind me of that. I wouldn't be surprised if this guy. I don't know anything
well, he's
about this
Spanish.
creator. Okay,
He's
so he
Spanish.
is. So
Yeah,
he's just doing his typical style over here, and we don't get it because we're such prudish Americans. That
yeah,
makes perfect sense.
yeah,
Get get over it, man. Like the rest of the world is a-okay with naked bodies. All right, that's
yeah.
only America's hang up.
Hey, I see naked bodies every day, man. It
Well, I see them
was
all the
like,
time too. But like,
because when I was in art school, fuck, we'd have life drawing, right? So I'd see naked people every day for 3 hours each day, nonstop.
yep, nice point, Manny. And exactly, dude. Like in the context of the story, like you should not be offended. Like if it was something like say like an old Tim Vigil book or something like that, I can understand people being like, "Oh my," because like yeah, there was a lot of really coarse nudity in those old books, and right on, yeah, just name drop that old bastard myself there, Fulci. But yeah, like there's a world of difference between that, and yeah, like I said, this reminds me of like a kind of weird, tasteful,
hmm
surreal, artistic, European horror film
Yeah.
type of nudity. You know what I mean? And I think it's a great comic so far. I got to get the trade when the rest of it comes out, but I did get the first issue because I've been excited for it, and I was not disappointed. I just
Um, I read issue 3 because I think 4 was out this week and I haven't picked it up yet. And issue 3 gets into some heavy stuff, man. Like it's silly at times, but it gets real serious. I love the flow and the the ebbs and flow of it. Like it's comical, it's silly, then it gets really it's got a little bit of everything. So I mean, can't say enough good things about it.
but yeah, that's pretty much my check-in. Like I've been doing so much prep work for our musical episodes that like I kind of slacked on my comic reading, which I don't know. I had a good time doing those episodes with you guys though too.
Yeah,
So
it was a
like
blast. Yeah.
so work was work, and yeah, we're going to be taking one week off from Buzz Bites because we're doing the movie review. We're going to be reviewing Wally's Wonderland, and we're going to, since it's going to be our first one, we're going to take a little time to so we can all watch it a couple of times and get our notes together. But we will be back in a week with Buzz Bites, and supposedly Matt is coming to his senses and he's going to be a man and he's going to show up 2 Fridays in a row. So like hopefully we'll have a bigger panel on the next episode of Pink Buzz, and we're really looking forward to that because I just happened to order the trade for Homesick Pilots, and I was kind of hoping we could cover that in the next episode. So Matt, please show up, brother man. But okay, man, getting into the big books of the week, we have first up Ginny Zero from Dark Horse Comics, and Joey. Like this is one of your main picks, and I love that you keep bringing this book up. You want to get into this?
Yeah, man, I love this book. I just love like I like serious books with like a deep story and like more cerebral, but man, just a fun balls to the walls book that's got action, some good humor. I I could eat that up every day of the week, and Jenny Zero fits that bill. So Jenny Zero, the creative team is David DeWange and Brockton McKinney are the writers. It's illustrated by Magenta King, who does a fantastic job in this book. I can't say enough. It's colored by Dam, which I think is uh, I don't know if it's a person or a studio. Anyway, I'm not sure. Oh, I didn't realize letters are done by Dave DeWanch as well. I did not know he lettered as well. Huh. So there you go. I shows that I checked
Well,
the
who
credits. Eh?
who designed it? Who is the designer,
Oh
Joe?
shit! I overlooked the designer. Yeah, we can't forget the designer. And is it credited? Yes, it is. Kathleen Barnett.
Nice. I'm probably related to her. Like I got Barnett's on my dad's side. Cool.
There you go. Yeah. So that covers everyone. And This second issue is great. It's a great follow up. It dives into a little more of Jenny's backstory, how she came to be in the situation she is that we find her in issue 1. It kind of explains a little bit her attitude, her reluctance to help. It covers a lot of ground for one issue. Like they cover a lot of story in this one, and it has some great moments. It has some great humor. Like there's a few laugh out loud parts for me in this, and the action is great too. One thing that really stood out for me that I loved was in the flashbacks, the use of color. Well, we already know that Jenny's father is dead. And in the flashbacks where they flash back to when he's alive, it's these warm tones, almost like a sepia colored scenes for that flashback. And the flashbacks after he dies are all these cooler blues and purples after he's dead, which kind of sets a more somber mood. It was done wonderfully, and it added to the story, and I just loved it. It was a great way to set the mood and the tone. And yeah, I can't say enough good things about this book. I mean, don't expect, let's say, like, anyway, it's fun. It's just a fun book, a fun read. Jenny is a wild character who's just a fun character to read, and she's unpredictable. Just a really fun read, fun character to delve into. And I guess that pretty much sums it up for me. What did you think?
This is the issue that's going to hook you. The first issue was really great. It was really neat. It had some killer moments. It was exciting. But this is the issue where you learn everything you need to know that's going to make you love the book. You get a lot of better, I think, character development with Ginny herself. You really get to know why she is the way she is. And I don't know, I've always just really liked snotty women. I was a punk rocker and stuff. So she's just perfect in my opinion, but you understand why she's that way. I loved the kaiju fight. I thought it was really well done, and I liked how it took place in between the flashbacks. I liked how the narrative kind of switched between these 3 different timelines and how it was relevant to the event and the moment at the time, because it all did. It wasn't just like, oh, here's a pointless flashback. It tied to the fight in the moment, and I thought it was really tight writing. I thought it was really exciting, and it's really got me even more invested in this book because I was in after issue 1, but now this is like a book I downright love. This is like one that I'm gonna really preach about now. So yeah, I can't say enough about it, and I'm really happy that they're doing these really kind of cool kaiju storylines nowadays. I mean, it's been a thing that they've been trying to do for a while, but it's never caught as well as it has at this moment. You have books like Big Girls and then Ultra Mega, now this. I mean, and they're just so wonderful. I think Mech Cadet U was the first one I saw that really kind of took off with this angle and told a really good, touching, and emotional story that was able to tie it to American sensibilities while using the Japanese style entertainment. And yeah, I'm utterly floored by what DeWanch is doing with this, and I'm really happy that this is going to be its own little universe. I really hope it gets a chance to thrive because we get great new characters in this, and they're setting up something really exciting. So I really hope that we can help get some people excited about this book, get it selling up maybe as good as we hope it would, and maybe this thing could be as big as Black Mask. And Black Hammer and Dark Horse really needs a second universe like Black Hammer to be selling as good as that. So get on it, people.
I'm just going back through checking the lettering to see how Dave's work is on the lettering. It's pretty funny. I didn't realize it was him. And that fight scene, it's just funny because when she becomes a guy like a kaiju, right? And then like she's naked, and it's perfect. Like it just makes me chuckle. Even now, just thinking about it, makes me chuckle and laugh. I love it. The humor. This is my kind of humor. It hits home with me. The humor in this, it lands really well with me. And I don't know. I'd love to just sit down and have a beer with Dave and Brock and just chat with them, because they seem like the humor in there just seems like the type of guys I could sit down and have a good time with. And yeah, I dig it. I really dig this book.
Yeah, I like that they really kept the monster looking like her. She kind of just becomes a really huge
Hmm.
version of herself, but she has a tail, which I
And
thought was pretty
slightly,
cool.
yeah, and her little gun there, Nemo, and she
Yeah,
it's on her finger instead of like holding it. That's good. I
yeah,
like that. And then how she becomes viral, she's like, "Ah, shit, I'm fucking naked all over the TV and stuff." And I don't know. I loved it. It was funny.
yeah. She's a good little anti-hero, man. They got her written
Yeah,
really well, and
yeah. Like I was listening to another podcast. I sometimes listen to First Issues Club, and they're
oh
talking
yeah,
about this book, and they said something in it that I thought as well as like they brought up Paris Hilton. Like the two friends. It's kind of
yeah, like Paris
you
and
know
Nicole Richie or whatever.
Nicole.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like that's almost like the dynamic duo in this is almost like Hilton and Nicole Richie, right? It has that same dynamic of like being kind of celebrities, based on who their parents were or their standing in the elite of society, right? And I thought of it, and when they mentioned it, I was like, yeah, there's totally that vibe in it as well. It's funny. It plays really well though to the story, and yeah, yeah,
hell yeah. And it's just a good time on paper, and like I said, I'm really happy you keep bringing it up because it's a book that really needs to be talked about. And yeah, I'm really happy that Greg and his boys talked about it on First Issue Club because they usually have really good takes on books.
yeah, yeah. Those guys are pretty funny.
But yeah, you got any last words you want to say about it, or other than just
Uh,
go get issue
yeah,
one
pretty
if you don't
much.
have it yet?
Go pick it up, and I'll be doing a giveaway of. Will I be doing it next week or in the coming weeks? I'll be doing a giveaway of my love letter to comics. Will be all my favorite comics that have been coming out recently. I'm going to put together a little giveaway for fans of our show and stuff. So keep an ear out for that. I'll be posting it sometime in the near future.
Yeah, watch our pilot episode if you kind of want a hint at what will be offered in Joe's amazing giveaway. He's shown me what he's gotten so far, and you guys are getting a hookup whoever wins this stuff. So
Mm.
yeah, man. But moving right along, this is one of the first books that really got me into kickstarting, man. I was rolling with Jake West from Comics Academy, and he was talking to Dave Cook and Craig. They were going to come on his Comics Creator Club, and I just was blown away by what I saw, and I had to check it out. So of course I backed Killtopia Book 2, and this is we're only going to be covering the first one, which is just so much fun. I know Joe's going to have some great takes on it, but this is written by Dave Cook. It's art by Craig Patton, letters by Robin Jones, and flats by Ludwig Olimbia. And man, did they just make a neon drenched trash cinema glory to the good old days of bad films homage that just rocks. I mean, much like Ginny Zero, I mean, this thing's just got great characters, great humor, killer art, and it's something that you've maybe seen before, but it's done in such a fun, neat way that it's pretty one of a kind, or at least brings something new, its own new things to the table. And this story is pretty much a tale about a kid named Shinji who wants to be a wrecker, and wreckers are people that go around and bust up unlicensed robots, basically. And every now and then, the wreckers have this whole uh, thing called Killtopia, where the best ones go at each other, and at the end, they win something huge. This one, there's a sentient AI on the line, so basically, like they're it's coming close to the time when Killtopia is about to start. And Shinji, he's doing it because his sister's sick. She's got some kind of weird nanite disease. And he ends up actually becoming good friends with the sentient AI that people are supposed to be winning. And he's just trying to get to the bottom of what's going on truthfully with this thing. And he has to go with he has to go and try to meet and find and become friends with these people that he's supposed to be fighting with. One is probably one of my favorite characters of all time, Stiletto. She's like the queen of the wreckers. She just like Oh man, she don't care. She just busts whatever up she wants up. She just talks shit. She's badass, and yeah, they need to figure out like if they're being played and what is really going on in this world and with these corporations. And yeah, Joe, how did you feel with your first interaction into this wonderful, weird little book?
Uh, it was a great opener. It definitely brought me back to my childhood because that opener where they talk about the wreckers and the big tournament just flashback to Running Man, Schwarzenegger's Running Man. I just right away I thought of that. It's kind of like a cyberpunk version of that. The intro, the way they introduce you to the whole concept and the world they live in is right away, and the characters, like all these wreckers are like bigger than life, like these weird characters, and they all have these little quirky, uh, how would you say it, gimmicks to them, like when their costumes too, they're all like super gimmicky. They're like stiletto, like she
Yes,
has this, her weapon, it's like the stiletto whatever, I can't remember what it's called, but
yeah, it's
anyway,
like a fencing. It's like a fencing foil, but like it like pops
yeah,
out. Yeah,
yeah, and
it
there's
retracts.
like little gimmicks to every person that kind of fits with the name of their wrecker name, like
King
the one
Kaiju
guy.
and his giant mech, and he's like sponsored by Kaiju Cola, so he's like, which is like this Coca-Cola thing. So his thing, like, it looks like something from Akira, but like at the same time, it looks like a big Coca-Cola advertisement on
Yeah,
a robot.
yeah, it's great. It made me laugh the first intro. Then it gets, I mean, it's silly, a little bit silly all the way through, but after that, you get into the more serious stuff of it, where they explain a little more in depth what's going on. Uh, like, yeah, because it's the tech. What is it, like robots that the wreckers defend? They hunt, and then they do the tournament based on who the best wreckers are. They have a tournament, and so that was pretty cool. It didn't get into as much detail uh, about that part as much as I would have liked. But like you said, there's 3 books, right? So we'll be covering 2 and 3 eventually when Matt's on the show, because we want him to get in on this goodness, because he loves this book as well. And the introduction of the sentient robot is a fun little part in the book where it gets pretty gory as well. Like you have some exploding heads, you have a lot of blood. Um,
Yeah,
it
limbs getting
definitely
ripped
got,
off. Yeah, it gets if you like that Takashi Miike style, like violence and gore, like
yeah,
this book has that.
it definitely has some gory action moments. It's not for the faint of heart. Like it's definitely got the ultra violent parts where you're gonna, it's not all rainbows and unicorns. Um, yeah, fuck it. It was good. It was really good. It was really good. If you want like that sci-fi, cyberpunk, dystopian future, this definitely will satisfy you on all those. And the action. I mean, the action and the characters are over the top, fun, quirky characters that you can't help but get a smirk on your face when you see them. It's really great the way they developed all those characters. And like you said, Stiletto, yeah, they leave you on a cliffhanger at the end of this one. So I'm looking forward to reading the second one now, because
Oh
you
yeah,
don't
dude.
know. You don't
Book two
know.
just continues the fun, and then three with the different art style because they brought in Clark Bent to do the art in that one. Oh, it's wild. But one of my other favorite things in this is the sentient robot Crash. I just love his design. He reminds me of Briarios from Appleseed, but like what he would look like when he was like a teenager before he got buff and stuff. He's like little skinny vegan Briarios before the roid rage or robot roid rage. It's a pretty
Yeah,
cool design.
yeah. Well, you know what I thought it looked like, and you were like, "Oh, that fucking." I know
Oh,
you're not
go
a fan,
ahead.
but it made
Yeah,
me
he looks
think
like
of Chappie as well. It has a very similar. I thought it, like the attitude of the robot and stuff too, was very very timid, very, you know kind of like Chappie, just you know, a little standoffish, not very aggressive, not although he could just take people out like that, he's very like unsure, very timid, not violent. Like he's not a killer. He's not a, although he eventually does because he's protecting people, but not malicious. Like he's a sentient robot that isn't malicious, that just wants to survive and live life without being hunted, and is trying to understand why all these people are hunting all these robots. And it's an interesting take because he's being hunted and he doesn't hate the world. He wants to understand it, which is something we talked about last week from those what was it, Woven Daughter. Like instead of hating and wanting to get revenge, this sentient robot's trying to understand why without wanting to take revenge out on everyone. He just wants to live life and understand why are these people doing this to us, instead of just, you know, that cycle of violence. He's trying to stop that cycle of violence, which is a very interesting aspect of the book itself, which I thought was really, really cool.
Yeah, Dave Cook is a really decent writer. I really enjoy his work. He's one of these other guys that makes me think that we're going to have a second renaissance of UK creators just busting out. Like there's like him and John Lees and Jordan Thomas and a couple others that are just, they're so good, man. And like they're bringing back that whole like Peter Milligan, Alan Moore, Grant Morrison flair to how they were when they were young and hungry, not like how they are now that they, you know, can put out whatever they want wherever they want.
Yeah,
but
and I like the mech, like the robot designs too. Like everything about this book is on point. I like it. The art's nice. It fits the style, and I love the part where he gives the robot his jacket.
Yeah, it gives him the punk jacket. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
I like
awesome.
that part. That's such a nice little moment between the two of them. That yeah, and the sticker to cover his is it a dent in his chest or something? He puts a sticker on, and the robot that just makes his day. You know, it's like a little kid getting the simplest little gift, and he just cherish it for the rest of his life. There's a bunch of little heartfelt moments like that in the book, and I loved it. It was great.
Yeah, I've always loved stuff like that too. Ever since I was little and saw Short Circuit. Yeah,
yeah.
He does. He reminds me a little of Johnny Five too. Now that I think about it. But yeah,
he's
dude,
definitely a heartwarming character. That what was the robot's name again?
Crash.
Yeah.
But if you're interested in this, like you can go to the website BHP Comics and you can get all 3 volumes right now too. It's widely available, and I think you can also order them on Amazon, right, Joe?
Yeah, they were. I think the second book is already possibly sold out on Amazon, but I think you can get it through third-party sellers on Amazon. Yeah.
Well, I'm pretty sure they still have it on the BHP website, which is always good when you're able to get these books after the campaigns. They're readily available for you. And the good thing about the book too is the original printing, they kind of rushed it, and like the printers messed it up. So if you get a newer copy of it, you're actually going to get a better print than the original run of Volume 2. So that's pretty cool. If you wanted to have the best version possible of that, try to get a hold of a newer version of Volume 2.
Yeah, I'd recommend anyone go pick it up. It was a fun read.
Right. And also, dude, Craig Patton's art book, Hard Coded, which he did a Kickstarter for, and you can, I think, get off of his website, and I think maybe it's on BHP too. It's really good. He's a really, really neat artist, and it's full of a bunch of cyberpunk stuff. He does like a bunch of like Ghost in the Shell pieces. He does like an Eon Flux drawing. It's really, really neat art book. So if you like what you see for the Killtopia art, definitely check out Craig Patton's art book too, Hard Coded. But zipping right along, we're moving on to a book that I absolutely just love, man. I love being able to talk about this book. I remember when I got it, I just was floored because I'd actually read some of Ryan Ferrier's work before this and wasn't quite like thrilled with him. I had Curb Stomp and a couple of his other books, but like this one is just almost utter perfection. This is Death Orb from Dark Horse Comics. It is written by Ryan Ferrier. It is drawn by the one and only, the incredible Alejandro Aragon, with colors by Chris O'Halloran, cover art by Alejandro Aragon, and lettered by Ryan Ferrier. There's no designer on this book. Sweet. But yeah, this book is just Mad Max on crack.
There is a
Um,
designer on this book. Sorry.
is there really? I don't see it on the credit page.
Yeah, Lin Huan.
Lin Huang. Okay, well, you did a
Yeah,
one beautiful job. I gotta say that, like, this one at least deserves to be credited because the
yeah.
design layout of the book, the panel layouts and stuff, are pretty wild. So I'm glad that you pointed that out because they did actually deserve credit here. And this neon, it's another neon drenched nightmare, but in such a beautiful way. I mean, like, you get taken on this trip by this fella called the Writer. He's just eponymously known as that, and he is looking to right a wrong that happened to him when basically the apocalypse happened, and he's just cruising around with his handy fire axe. He's got a decapitated mutant head that's psychic that talks to him, and he's just grooving along until he runs into this group of survivors. And much like, like Mad Max, or like, Kenshiro from Fist of the North Star would have to do, he like stops and helps these people out. Even though like their cause is different than his. And oh my god, what a journey this is, dude. You get probably one of the coolest ninja characters in any comic book ever, and just cyberpunk mech fights. And oh, dude, the freeway fight's probably one of my favorite. Like, literally, like, these guys are just careening down this cyberpunk highway, and like they're on the roofs of these cars just jumping around with hatchets and wrecking shit. And it's just depicted so gloriously. Like, Joey, how did you feel like digging into this book for the first time?
I've been looking for an excuse to read this, and we finally found an excuse for me to read it, and I was not disappointed. Like you said, it's got a lot of action. It's a dystopian future. Like you said, it's got a few cyberpunk elements. It's definitely got a strong. I don't know. Wouldn't necessarily say anti-religion, but it's definitely religion versus. It's definitely little bit of a commentary there. What do they call them? The Lords, I think, something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, and there's like a priest character who's leading everyone, and basically they have that, which comes into the title, Death Orb. They have these orbs in space that they can summon down to Earth to just wipe out entire cities, countries, and that's how they rule over the world, with this threat of, being able to control who lives and dies at a whim. And that's how they kind of control these people. And this group of people just goes around and, just trying to live life without being, what's the word I use? I don't know, controlled or, uh,
Just a
yeah,
little bit of freedom. Yeah, a little. Yeah,
yeah, like,
because yeah, the religious, the I forget what the sect is called, the Lords. Yeah, they kind of just want to control everything in the few little cities that are left. So, and even the people that try to get out and escape, you got the bandits, you got all this terrible stuff popping off. And yeah, it's harrowing. It's I don't know, pretty tip.
oppression. Yeah, like just living in oppression like that, and looking, and like you said, the writer, he's the first character that's introduced, that introduces you into this world, and all he wants to do is find his wife who is pregnant, and then, or does she already have a child? I can't remember. I think she's pregnant with their child, and he wants to find his wife so he could be with his wife and their unborn child. And yeah, that's his quest. And then he meets these other uh, people like you said that are just
need help, and he helps them.
yeah, like
The neat
yeah,
thing about the writer, though, is
rebellion, the rebels, right? And at first he's reluctant to join up with them because he's got a singular mindset of finding that, but they develop a friendship along the way and a mutual respect, which is great. Like that development of the story is pretty good because it's a nice gradual kind of flow to it, like a natural uh, flow to how they become closer and actually become friends, which was great. And I gotta say, this book has some exploding heads in it, which is which is pretty great. There's a few panels there with some exploding heads that are yeah, it definitely gets your attention. And the main character Ryder, like I told you, it made me think of Travis Touchdown. If anyone's ever played No More Heroes, he's definitely got that flair to him. Look with the motorbike and just
he,
his reckless abandon when he goes to fight. It
he
definitely gave
reminds
me
me
those vibes.
he reminds me of the guy from Plastic. I mean, like I
Yeah,
love Mad Max and like Snake Plissken and stuff, and he fits that bill. But at the same time, like you can't help but think like he might be psychotic. He might be a bit of a serial killer because he just cruises around with a fire axe. He has a decapitated head that he talks to, and
hmm
like you said, he is really singular minded. Much like so, like at the beginning of the thing, like I didn't know if they were playing with us and like, is this guy going to be a freak or is he going to be the
yeah,
hero? Or and I think it's a little bit of both. I think that the neat thing about it is he is as twisted and as wicked as what he's fighting against because of what happened to him. And I love that the neat little main boss battle he has at the end with the assassin guy, the I forget what his name is, the kind of Soul Cinema like Bruce Leroy dude that comes to
yeah,
fight him. Like that was just so cool. I like that they had like an actual other psycho that was like on his level to come and fight the writer,
yeah.
and it just ended perfectly. It's like, yeah, that's cool. Like I helped you guys. Now I'm gonna go look for my wife still. And it's just like I was just like, yes, thank you for ending it like that because they'll probably never do it, but like it makes my heart sing for a second one because I would love to see what else they could do with this because Dark Horse needs as much as they can get put out right now, and hell, dude, a Death Orb universe would be killer, man. Have a couple
Yeah,
different books for this out every week or every month. I'd be there.
yeah.
No problem.
Oh, and the art in this is great. Like I love the style.
Oh yeah, I was blown away. I got this book literally, I think, a couple of days before Adrian Wassel sent me the first issue of Resonant. And yeah, just with those two experiences, yeah, Alejandro Aragon's like one of my favorite new artists, man. He's up there with like Alex Cormack. He just blows me away. I just really enjoy the intensity and the excitement of his movement. Like
Yeah,
like
the
it's so
action
kinetic. Yeah.
movement. Yeah, it's really well done. It's got a nice flow from panel to panel. The way he does the blur lines, which is becoming a great way to draw movement and action. Like Daniel Warren Johnson does it really well. He uses it quite a bit in this one too, which is just adds so much more movement and action to
What makes it all look so
the
kinetic? It
scenes.
looks like it's
Yeah,
actually moving.
yeah, which is great, and he does a great job with that. Like I can't say enough. Mm.
Yeah,
Definitely, I feel it has a little bit of a what's his name, Dark Knight, the White Knight, Murphy, uh,
yeah, yeah.
Sean Murphy.
Especially the way the rider's drawn, yeah, with the really straight legs and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
like the really
it's got a
long
little bit
straight
of that
legs.
vibe to it too. Yeah, like yeah, I like it. It's really beautiful book. It's well illustrated. Can't say enough good things about that. Mm.
Yeah, no, I've actually covered this like on every show that I've done, and I think I've talked about it in two separate videos. So I can't shut up about this book. Like honestly, like if you want to just read one of the most awesome '90s movies ever, like get Death Orb because that's what it is. Like
Mm.
if you wanted to see like Johnny Mnemonic meets Snake Plissken meets Mad Max meets man, Jason Voorhees, then yeah, dude, like you're gonna get it with this book. I guess there's some hardware in there too. Like
Yeah,
it's almost a perfect
yeah,
book.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like Killtopia too. It kind of gave me a little bit hardware vibes to it. Like the non-sentient robots, they're a little more singular-minded and like hunt. Anyway, both these books kind of gave off that same some similar vibes. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, like, yeah, we're gonna change it up a little bit, switching to this next one. This is the big one. This is one that Joe has been particularly vocal about since its inception. I don't think I'd ever heard about the book until he started telling me I needed to read it, and I finally did, and that's why we're covering it. Joseph, what do we have last and final on the table for the good people?
We Live. And this is an Aftershock book, and I loved it. And the creative team on this would be two brothers, which were the driving force of this book, which would be Roy and Inaki Miranda. So the Miranda brothers, even on the cover, it's written Miranda Brothers. The Roy is they both co-write, and Inaki does the illustrations in it. You have the colorist, which would be Eva Dela Cruz. Dave Sharp, who does the lettering, who does tons of books. And that's pretty much it. I don't know who the designer is because it's not listed on the my reference here. So sorry to any designer that worked on it. I don't have your name here, so I apologize. Yeah, this book is how would you say, it's a mishmash of a few different genres, but mainly it's a sci-fi story about two children. Well, it's about a bunch of children, but mainly they focus on two specific children who are a bunch of children throughout the world are chosen to be saved from the end of the world, and they have to get to a location where they get sent into space to be saved, to live on another planet. And that's the driving force of this story, of their adventure to get to where they're going. And from there, all kinds of shit happens, man. Like it's quite the adventure for these kids. And it's a beautiful book. The illustrations are great. The character designs are great. Even the kids, like the personality, the characters, the Miranda brothers design and develop these characters like in a single issue. They make you fall in love with a character. Like their character development is outstanding. Like they make you care. Like after 2 pages of reading about a character, you're like, I love this character. And it's got some heartwarming, some parts, heartbreak parts. Like it just, you're shocking. This book has it all. Like it's well paced. It's got a fast pace. So if you like a book that moves, man, the story moves along. So you pick this up, you won't be disappointed. And I mean, the trade's out now, so I think we could go into a little bit of spoilers. There's one particular moment. I think it's in issue 3 when the two kids meet another kid with because the kids can bring one person with them, a guardian, I guess is what you would call them. And Humbo is another character that they meet along the way. And they're on the train, and when Humbo and his guardian unpin the train, jump to save Hoto and Tala, and that train sequence where they're sitting there by themselves after in silence, and this little kid, Ototo, wants to be a superhero his whole life. Like he dresses as a superhero, and his helmet's on the ground, and his sister wants to give it to him, and he just turns and looks out the window with a tear. And that whole sequence, the way it's developed, the way they lead into it, it's gut wrenching, man. And just how they depict like the loss of innocence in that whole sequence. And there's little parts like that all throughout the whole series that the Miranda brothers do incredibly well. And it just draws you in, and it's a great story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say that it's like Rick Remender's Low meets Sweet Tooth. I mean, yeah, Sweet Tooth, because it's like a road story, but you have all this terrifying sci-fi stuff going on. And
Hmm.
one thing I really have to hand it to him is the animal designs, man. Like the what was it, the
They're
Bengal
great.
Ripper, so good. And then like it was issue 2 where they were crossing the river, and like
Yeah.
that giant like sea serpent pops
Snake.
up
Yeah,
and has a wolf's head. It looks so fucking cool. I was like, wow, dude,
it
that's
is
so
cool.
dope, dude.
It's a
I
beautiful book. Like you
forget
said,
what was
the
Humbo's.
design, the designs are just beautiful. Like you say, the creatures. It's
What
a
was Humbo's
breathtaking book.
what was Humbo's protector's name again? That was designed really beautifully.
Alice, no?
Yeah, Alice. Yeah, exactly. I was
Alice.
gonna say
Yeah.
Amy, but like I was like,
Yeah.
nope, that's Congo. I'm mixing gorillas up. God damn it!
Well,
Like,
yeah, it's kind of like a fairy gorilla type creature.
yeah, it's like a
It was
gorilla out of
great. Yeah.
Monstrous or something. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Oh, it's awesome. And no, Humbo and Alice. Then, oh, love those two characters.
Yeah, dude,
Like,
Humbo and Alice
uh,
pretty much because like
they steal the show. They steal the show for sure.
well, because like Jotito or whatever his name is, like he's just always messing his gear up, and like there was the where he all broke his helmet, and Humbo actually fixes it for him and makes it work, and then, like it turns into like this big black cat helmet, and it's really neat. I
Yeah.
think that's an issue too, and yeah, he
Yeah.
kind of I don't know, he kind of kept them motivated at first because I think that our main two would have just probably sat somewhere and let themselves get killed if Humbo and Alice weren't there to kind of
Weren't there. Yeah.
yeah, to drag them along. Because
Yeah.
after the bus gets wrecked, I mean, like it gets bad there for a minute. Like
Yeah.
it get
Yeah. And they can draw you in and really do some good emotional scenes where it draws you in. And
oh, and
yeah,
he's
it isn't all
savage about it.
action. Yeah. Yeah.
There's
Yeah, it is. Because I can't remember that main character. Well, he's not really spoilers. He's not really a main character. You think he's going to be a main character, but he meets his demise pretty early on, and that whole scene just wow, it just shocks you. It takes you
well,
by
he
surprise. Like,
told those people, man, don't be idiots. We got to be really and like that guy, he just shoots the Bengal Ripper or whatever it is, the giant
yeah,
lion and stuff, and it, like, and then yeah, that poor bastard ended up having to take the brunt of it, and it just hits you like I said, man, on that Rick Remender level, man, like low.
yeah,
And then like then you have the sentimental moments where it's sad like Sweet Tooth, but it bounces back and forth between being gut wrenching like Low and being cute and innocent like Sweet Tooth or sentient, which I think is really a neat balance to keep because those are two of the most emotional comics I probably ever read, and this one kind of just. I mean, it doesn't rip them off, but like it hits those same levels as them
yeah, yeah,
constantly. So
yeah.
like the Miranda brothers, they're off the hook. I've seen Anaki's art for years, but I had no idea him and his brother could knock shit out of the park like this. I mean, this is an impressive comic, and it's probably one of the prettiest, best looking comics Aftershock's ever put out. I mean, this thing is gorgeous. Not
It
just the
is.
animal designs, but the way the cartoons rendered when they're explaining how the kids and their
Yeah,
powers work, and
it's
like
very like Fallout. Like if anyone's ever played Fallout,
yeah, that's exactly what it
yeah,
reminded me of, the Pip
yeah,
Boy like
yeah,
cartoons.
exactly. Yeah,
And yeah, that's I guess that's a neat way to put it too, that this is like a way more colorful, like if you mixed Valorant with Fallout, you'd probably get something like this maybe. Like
and I was talking because another person that really loved it was Blake and also Holly, Data Nerd on Twitter, and we used to chat about it a lot. And like she said, like how they contrast, like how beautiful and colorful the book is with how bleak and serious and dark and somber like the story can get. Like just that contrast of the two just plays off each other so well because you're not that's what throws you for a loop, right? You think you're into this like fantasy sci-fi, and all of a sudden this crazy shit happens where you're like, oh my fucking god, I can't believe they just did that. Because you don't think it's going to get that gritty, dark, and serious, right? And then all of a sudden this shit goes down, and you're like, holy fuck! You never
No, I
thought.
mean you wouldn't think
Yeah,
because it's about you see the little kid in the superhero outfit
yeah,
and you think it's going to be some goddamn Pixar thing and it's
mm,
it's the furthest thing from it, man.
mm-hmm,
You're like in Rick Remender territory where like
yeah,
wait for your heart to get ripped out because it's getting kicked out, man. Not
yeah,
even getting ripped out. It's going to kick you in the butthole so hard your fucking heart pops out of your mouth and then they're just going to stomp on it with golf shoes.
yeah, yeah,
And then have you beg them for the next issue because you gladly will because it's that good. You'll be like, I
yeah,
don't care if I don't have a heart anymore. Give me issue 5.
yeah. And I've seen interviews with the brothers, and their plan was to make more or less self-contained first arc in case it didn't get sales weren't good enough. But they had a bigger pitch to Aftershock. Like they had a much bigger and vast story to tell, and everything depended on this first arc. And it sold well enough, so it got picked up. So now they're going to go with this whole world, this whole We Live world. They're going to expand it, and it's going to
Nice.
go. They have a lot. They have big plans for it moving forward, which is great news because I loved it.
Yeah, and I'm really happy you told me that they were going to be carrying on with it too. Because if I got to the end of this arc and I didn't know that it was going to get carried on, I'd be so pissed, dude. This would be a slightly different review because I'd be cussing that
Yeah.
cliffhanger thing or whatever you want to call it.
And there's so many directions they can go in because of the way it ended. You have so much time lapse there that there's so many stories there that you can tell. You could go with a prequel with the old man from the beginning, his story. After Humbo and Alice get separated from Ototo and Tala, you don't know what happens there, so you could tell that story. Like there's so many more stories they could tell. It's crazy. It's crazy. And then you could just continue with what happened at the end of this arc. There's so many directions they can go in and take you. It's wonderful. Like they left so many open-ended arcs, like plot lines that they could explore and just get so much more out of this whole world. It's wonderful. It's in well-crafted book. Like I can't say enough good things about it. The Miranda brothers just smashed it out of the park on this one.
Yeah, me either. I mean, I still have not read an Aftershock book that I've disliked or even come close to calling shit. This is definitely way up on the top tier. This is probably going to be my favorite of their long-running ones. It might even dethrone Animosity, depending on how long it goes. But it's really neat to actually have Aftershock books. They're going to go past the first arc because they don't typically do that. I think Baby Teeth. Insects, but that only went I think 3 books, and then Animosity are the only books of theirs that like went past 1 book, right?
Yeah. So it'll be nice. Get some more stories from this. Nice to see a smaller publisher that can keep running with an IP. You know.
Oh, they got a hit on their hands, man. Like they could, if they play their cards right, this could possibly be as big as those Remender books that I talked about, those big Remender epics that Image put out. And it has the potential. It's good enough to be.
They got nominated for an Eisner, so that just goes to show that it's been recognized as a quality book. Yeah.
Yeah, that's always a good thing, kind of.
Yeah.
Sort of.
If they could win that, then it'll definitely give this book a little more hype. So the sales will be even better, maybe on the following arcs. So they could just keep going with this and give us way more of the stories in this world. Because we see these creatures, but why? Like we don't understand. Like, is this from like some kind of occurrence in the world? Like, was the world that they live in, was it like Earth eventually? Like the way we live today, was there some kind of event that made all these animals turn that way, or is this like a fantasy world where this is the way it's always been? Like this hasn't been discussed at all in this book yet, and that's another aspect, you know. Like we don't, well, they touch on it a little bit with I think the 2 lovers. There's like an explosion but they definitely don't go into much detail if that event was a thing that created this world with like these animals and stuff. They don't go that deep into it in this first arc, which I'm sure they'll be looking to explore in the future.
I can't wait to see whatever they pull out next. And Yeah, I just want to see more from these brothers. They're extremely talented, and I always like brother team ups anyways, you know, like Gabriel Ba and Fabio Moon, the Pander brothers, let's see who else. There's the Valderrama brothers, the Hanukkah brothers. There's several really good brother teams, the Hernandez brothers. So it's always good to see a new pair pop up. Oh, and the Lunas. I always forget about the Luna brothers. But yeah, man, like just the emotional hits that this book took, and from is Inoki Miranda. I forget his name. He's probably got a, but the brother that writes, is this one of his first gigs as a main writer? Do you know?
I'd have to assume so, because after I read this book, I went and looked up their names on, like, Googled it and stuff, and nothing comes up. Like, I couldn't find anything on either one of them. And you're the first one that I've talked to that mentioned that you've seen Inaki's work in other places. You mentioned a Vertigo book he worked on.
Yeah, he worked on Coffin Hill, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, it's really good writing, man. It's really fucking solid for somebody that's brand new, supposedly, to it. I'm impressed. Like
And
I said,
Inaki's actually working on the Out of Body.
yeah, he's got the Peter Milligan book that he's
Yeah,
doing.
he's
Isn't that
working on
also
that
for
right now.
Aftershock?
Yeah, that's an Aftershock book as well.
That's cool. They
Yeah.
keep getting these really good artists to just kind of stay and work with them. They also got like Jen Hickman, who's one of my favorites, who always seems to be churning out something really neat for that label. So that's good that they kind of have like talent that kind of just sticks around and works and puts out good books for them. Because I mean, if I had a label, I kind of want to have a certain look to it. You know what I mean? And that's kind of cool that like Aftershock's kind of establishing that, like, if you like these guys' art, like, check out our stuff because they work here often. And you don't get that too often with some of these labels. Sometimes you have no idea what the hell your book's going to look like.
What was your favorite, like, what the fuck moment from the story?
Dude, probably when the bus got wrecked. Dude, I did not expect that to happen so soon in the series. I thought that they would at least get a couple issues in before they started killing off characters and having an event like that transpire that was just so damn devastating. I mean, that's like what, the very beginning of the second issue.
Yeah.
And
They did, like I said, they didn't fucking beat around the bush to get this story moving. It was breakneck pace.
I mean, there was a lot of them, but I guess because that was the first one, and that it just was like when I got hit, and I was just like, okay, it's going to be that kind of a book. Damn.
Yeah. See, Mia was where the old man, when he gets taken out, I was like, what the fuck? Yeah, man. I was like, holy fuck, man. I was like, after that, I was like, that's where I was like, this book is definitely for me. I loved it. That was the one moment where I was like, holy fuck. I need it all now. Like, give it all to me, So
I have to say, the little girl in the molders at the end of issue 1 was pretty jarring too. That was a really early, just like, wow, dog. Like, they just fucking, the cute little girl character, they're just gonna like, damn.
Yeah, that part was like, I was like, yeah, that was kind of rough. But that's another thing, they don't really come back. They touch on it a little bit, but not so much. I think they touch on it on issue 3.
Yeah, they show you that, like, out in the wilderness, they're even worse. Like, they're even kind of scarier. But yeah, I mean, right off the bat, this book sets you up to think that it's going to be this cute, cartoony thing, and it kind of has its moments. It never officially gets violent, or it's violent, but like not like some of the other stuff we've talked about. There is the head eating and stuff, so there is a little bit of gore, but I mean, like, at the same time, like, this is something you could probably let a kid read. Like, I would say like 12 or 13 years old. I wouldn't give it to like a small child, but I think you could let like a early adolescent check this out and be like, dude, this is some powerful stuff, and this is probably some good reading for a younger.
Yeah, it's definitely got the YA. You could label it a YA for sure. No problems there. Yeah.
Okay. I'm still fuzzy on what that term means. People say YA, and I think like detergent and Twilight and stuff, but
Young adult.
But yeah, doesn't that usually mean like crap like Harry Potter? And
no, I just think it means the content isn't as, let's say, like gratuitous. There will be no real nudity. You know, maybe PG. Basically, it's like labeling a comic a PG comic. You know.
This one definitely pushes it to at least 13, PG-13, because like there is some like head eating and like some spooky monsters, but at the same time, like this is a book that's okay to probably let, like I said, like a 12 or 13-year-old kid read, but grown ass man like you and me, we can read it and just be floored by it as well, because it's gripping and it's written so well. I mean, like.
Yeah.
Children characters are hard to get right, but I think they nailed it in this. They're all really whimsical and kind of just fun. You want to know what's going on with them, and then when something happens to them, you actually feel for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you feel for these characters. You like fall in love with them. You know, like you care about them. They're such, the way they developed that aspect of this book was what was the most surprising to me about how quickly I cared about these characters, how they nailed it so quickly, like in such little time. It's astonishing, really. And I remember when I almost didn't pre-order this. I almost didn't put it on my poll. And I remember at the shop where I go get my books, Dom, he's a guy who works there. He was like, "What the fuck are you doing ordering this?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Look at it." Because, you know, the little kids are drawn like...
Yeah, the cover of #1, it looks like some kind of weird Care Bear comic or something, man.
Yeah, he's like, "What the fuck?" And he kind of... And I was like, "Oh, man, I read it. I thought it sounded cool, you know?" And he's like, "Man, I don't know about you." and then I was like, after reading like the first issue, I was like, "Yeah, the first issue is pretty good, Dom." I was like, "It's not bad." Then after issue 2, I was like, "Dom, you got to read this fucking book." And then just 2 weeks ago, I went in and he started reading it. Now he's like, "Holy fucking shit!" He's like, "It's so fucking good." I think he finished issue 2 and he's hooked now. He's like, "Yeah, man, I'm so happy you told me about it," because he's like, based on the art, he said, from the covers and stuff, he would have never picked it up and read it. And he was thanking me the other week that he's like, "Yeah, man, it's really good," and he's digging it now too. So it's great. It's great to see people like that misjudge a book by its cover come back and be like, "Man, I was totally wrong about this," and happy that they were proven wrong about it. Like I haven't heard a single person say anything bad about this book or this series. So, man, like, go pick this up and read it, because it's one of the few comics I haven't seen any negative reviews or any negative comments about. I've just seen people praise it, and that's amazing, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it deserves it. And much like your buddy, like if I was to look at the cover of issue 1 and try to predetermine if I'd like it or not, I would have been like, but then again, like that's that first look. At second look, if you look above the two, like really squatty looking, chibi anime looking kids, there's like this excavator saw thing above them, which is kind of horrific looking and terrifying. So like if you took a closer look, the book was telling you like this is both going to be mystifying, creepy, and whimsical and cute. And it's more of the first and the second. So I got to give them mad props for that. And like Aftershock, man, they don't let me down. Like they are pretty much like my third favorite label, just because like I can buy one of their books and I know at worst it's going to be like a 8 out of 10. You know?
You read it in trade form, right?
No, I was Fred gets the PDFs and
the issues read it
for him. Yeah.
Did you queue up the music for it, or because this book comes with QR codes that has music, original music that accompanies the books for when you read it?
I have not. I will have to reread it with that. Yeah. That sounds interesting. No, I was just listening to normal stuff that I listen to a lot. Probably some avant-garde black metal or something.
In the PDFs, do they have the QR codes for it to accompany it, or is it just in the printed version?
Is that the weird little checker things that you're supposed
Yeah,
to take pictures of with
exactly.
your phone?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, those were in the book. I have no
Okay.
idea what the hell those
Yeah.
things are. I know you're
It's
supposed to
like
take pictures of them with your phone, right?
yeah, it's like a barcode, but digital with your phone. It scans it or takes a picture of it, and it'll bring you to, instead of clicking on a link, it'll bring you exactly to the YouTube where the song, and they have they put little videos together to accompany it, and it's kind of cool because they set up, and it's all original music. It's made just for the book, which is pretty cool.
That's cool. Well, I mean, they do that
Yeah.
for sync, but then again, like they just send you the card where you can go and download the soundtrack to listen to on your own. Like I don't know. I just see those little checker things everywhere, and I'm just like, I'm old. I don't know what they mean. You know what I mean? That's some kind of teenage hieroglyphic shit that old people like me, like, I don't know.
I try to keep up with it as much as possible, but
Yeah.
it's only so much time in a day or a week that things slip through the cracks.
But like Joe said, man, this thing is out on trade, and it's definitely one that needs to be in your shelf, in my opinion. And I can't wait for the second arc. It's going to kick mad asses, and we'll probably cover that too, unless
It also has a free comic book coming out for Free Comic Book Day.
Oh no, shit! Cool.
Yeah.
Is it going to have an exclusive story in it? Probably.
Yeah, it's a new story. Yeah, it's going to be its own thing. Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
Anyone who loved it, just remember that Free Comic Book Day has a We Live comic coming out. Aftershock has one coming out for that.
Hell yeah! When's that this year?
I think it's in August, if I'm not mistaken.
August. Nice. Okay. Hot August nights. So anything else you wanted to say about this beautiful, wonderful masterpiece of a book, Joseph?
Actually, yeah, when I was first reading it, you know what it gave me vibes of? Not necessarily because of the story, but just reading it, how it drew me in. East of West.
Yes.
Definitely. It drew me in the same way East of West did.
Like the way it builds the world.
Yeah, the way it builds its world, the way it draws you in. Death's son and the balloon, the interaction, and how clever, heartwarming, and just the relationship between the two. It gave me those kind of vibes, like how they developed the characters and how they made you feel about them and care about them. It definitely gave me the same vibes as that. So it's not the same as East of West, but if you like East of West and how it drew you in, this book draws you in kind of in a similar way.
Yeah, it's like East of West meets Sweet Tooth 2, I guess, too. With some of that Rick Remender emotional shit in there.
Like, this book touches on so many genres. Like, was there a genre they didn't touch on in this book? Like, it's crazy.
I guess like hard Western. No, they did, because it was almost like
a first character in the beginning was very Western.
Yeah, and it was almost like a Stagecoach type story where the Stagecoach. So like they did do Western. Damn it! No, I can't think of one. I guess
they touched. It's a true mishmash of every genre rolled up into this one book.
High concept fantasy. They didn't have any orcs or fairies show up. That's the only thing.
Yeah, no magic. There was no magic. Oh, is that magic or is it? No,
they haven't explained it yet. But
I don't know.
It could be, but
the society, the alien society, like, is that magic? Is it celestial? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, it touches on everything, like everything. And you'd think mixing all these genres together would be a mess, but man,
they nail it. It's a nerd's dream come true.
It's crazy. Yeah, oh man, like.
Anything you like as a nerd, man, this book tries to put it in there, and they handle it with care. They wanted to make something special, and I think they damn well did. I mean,
yeah,
like, they're gonna have to screw this thing up bad to ruin it at this point, in my opinion. So
yeah. Like, they impressed me big time, time. Miranda Brothers, remember that name? Like, I don't know. Like, I want to keep reading this. but I'm already excited to know what they might do after this. Like what
Yeah.
would they like? Whatever. I don't know. I'm just really anxious to read anything done by these two brothers together. Like they're going to continue with We Live, but I want to see what they do as a team, because what they did on this book as a team was wonderful, like exceptional.
Yeah, it definitely reinvigorates that whole, I guess, YA style for me. Between this and what was the last book you talked about? Something else we read recently that I didn't know was YA that I really loved. It's kind of reinvigorating that term for me. It kind of became a dirty word in my book, but now it's
Recently, did we cover
yeah,
it on the show or just?
yeah. We covered it on the show. I forget what it was, but it's another book that you said was YA, and I was like, wow, man, if it was a YA book, I had no idea. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have read it.
Shit, I can't think
But,
of it now.
but
What?
yeah,
It wasn't a horror book, was it?
no, I don't think so. I think it was in our maybe the. I think it was the episode we did with Matt, but after the one guy left the show.
I can't think of it right now. It'll probably come to me later, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like Goose right now. I'm forgetting everything. I'm just like, what's up, guys? I'm Goose.
Yeah, I can't wait for Goose to come back. We could be
Yeah,
covering
man.
Mountainhead.
Yeah,
We're
he's
to be
got.
covering Mountainhead when he comes back. That's going to
He's,
be awesome.
he said it's going to be about in a month. He's going to Waco. That's wonderful. That's what Waco needs is another wacko living there. So, yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
we missed you, Goosey boy. And like, if you listen to this, man, like, I really hope you. I'm pretty sure he's read all these books. He's pretty Johnny on the spot with good shit.
Mhm. Well, I covered it when early on the end when the first issue first came out, and I think Goose added it onto his poll after we did a couple episodes there. So
Nice.
yeah.
But all right, this was another really pulse pounding, exciting adventure into the pink buzz. I think we talked about some really awesome books. I think we had some fun talking about some really awesome books. And I really hope we inspired some of you to check out these really awesome books. We're going to be picking the show back up. Like some of our cast members will be falling back in, and it's going to be exciting moving forward. I'm getting a new editing program where we're going to actually be showing visuals while we talk about the books. So look forward to that in the future. But until next time, man, this is still graphic vandalism. So don't stop reading. Don't stop listening to cool music. And don't stop listening to Joe when he tells you books that have little shitty kitty covers are good. They're fucking good. So read them. I'm Dirk Cressmitten. You can find me on Twitter at JohnnyAlpha81. And Joe, you got any sign offs you wanted to give up, man?
I'm Joe Paquette. You can find me at Twitter at 00Joe Paquette. So keep reading and have a good week, folks.
Well, your other show, The End, it's coming back soon, right? Do you have any
I
word
can't
on that?
confirm anything on that yet, but supposedly word was we're going to be coming back in July.
Cool. So anybody thirsty for more Joe, he's going to have a second show that he's going to be running with Marvel Spank, our favorite UK psycho. He is just such a character. He's a wonderful person. And yeah, man, it's going to be killer. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But until next time, peace out. Have a good one. And yeah, don't stop reading like always.